To discuss more, I'm joined now by Yiyang Shen, Director of the Beijing Inclusive Development Research Center. Thank you so much for joining us from Beijing.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we know that Japan started releasing this treated water from the Fukushima plant into the ocean on Thursday. Talk to us about the short-term and long-term safety concerns, despite Japanese government assurances that it's safe.
Well, I think it's definitely need more how to say research, discussion, or even negotiation with scientists, experts from neighbor countries. So we all know that just the water is not pure contaminated water. It's a treated contaminated water, but there's still a different kind of contaminants still in the treated water, like carbon-14 and also cesium. So it's an environmental impact hasn't been fully researched and discussed. So there's also not enough numerical modeling on this ecosystem impacts for the Pacific. For example, I think with the ocean current, so very soon the contaminated water will affect the Bering Sea. So because the water exchange between inside and outside the Bering Sea are kind of not that active. That means there in the future there could be a lot of cumulative negative impact in the fragile ecosystem of a Bering Sea, and also could affect the Arctic Sea in the future. And all this hasn't been discussed. I think within a dozen of days, the American coast near California will be affected, and then the Central America, and then the South America. Of course, the Pacific Islands, which their capacity to assess the negative environmental impact is very limited, and nobody provide funds for them to do the research.
Yiyang, let's talk about the sea life, ocean life. I mean, there is concern from not just people who consume seafood, fish, but there's also the part of the seafood companies, the fishermen who process this, the amount of business they might lose, because we really just don't know what impact it might have if people eat those fish. So talk to us about the business part of this as well.
Okay, so there's a direct impact. Is that the fishery industry will be very seriously damaged for Japan, Taiwan, and also even Philippines. But the other impact is that the psychological impact. A lot of people may just don't want to eat any seafood from Pacific Islands. So even in China, there's already some movement, in the fishery industry, to discuss with Japan whether they can withdraw this discharging plan, because a lot of fish farms near the Yellow Sea will be affected. So the total cost of this damage is much more than the discharging cost.
All right, Yiyang Shen, thank you so much for joining us from Beijing. We appreciate your perspective.
You're welcome.